feeling, a great feeling from Timmy Lakey. Timmy Lakey in the morning makes me feel alive. Woke me up this morning, now I'm up and on my way. Oh, 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 yeah, what a great way to start your day, the Lakey way.
Well, that's me, isn't it? The choir is singing my name, and it says, Lakey, jump on the stage and say hello to everybody. So, hello to everybody. Good morning, Lakey, and unleashed from the confines of corporate radio, Thursday, the 11th day of December, year of our Lord, 2025. Pleasure and pleased to be here with you Thursday morning, almost Friday. Can you believe it? This time last week, I was in Africa doing the show, and it was the final show before I began the long journey back here to the United States of America. So it's been a fast week. I can't believe it that it's been already a week that I've been back, and I'm ready to go back at any moment. So if anybody like to send me to Africa, feel free. Let me pick the country, though. I'd like to go to Rwanda. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. All right, good to have you here. Lots of good topics to get to today. We'll dive into it. Also, some ready for this. It's going to be some good conversation when it comes to holidays and holiday spirit. Bowl games. Anybody watch the bowl games out there? Well, a lot of folks go to the bowl games, travel across. That's their holiday plans, their Christmas gift to the family. They will watch the bowl games and eat stadium food. Talk about stadium food here in just a moment. And also, some people say that Tampon Timmy from Minnesota, his political career is absolutely done after the scandals in Minnesota. So we'll talk about all of those here forthcoming on the program as well. What else do I have here on the show? Well, we got to get to, Jay Ratliff, our aviation and travel expert, is going to be with us today as well. And what do you think about the United States of America seizing an oil tanker from Venezuela? Now, there's a lot of sanctions on Venezuelan oil. The United States says it is totally legal for them to seize this tanker, and they will. Venezuela is not very happy. Well, here's what we know about the dramatic move. Video was released of men coming out of helicopters, U.S. military helicopters, and landing on the deck of this big tanker. The seizure of an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela is the most dramatic twist yet in the military pressure against Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro. The boarding of a foreign ship is an unusual step, according to the report, that expands U.S. operations already highlighted by strikes that have happened against drug boats that were coming out of Venezuela as well. More than 20 boats have been struck in the Caribbean and Pacific Ocean that the administration claims carry drug traffickers. Well, early reports suggest that the swoop in by U.S. Coast Guard personnel with the backing of the Navy and law enforcement agencies poses fewer legal and constitutional concerns than the campaign against the boats and imminent threats of military action on Venezuelan soil. So the critics of the Trump administration say there's probably more legal justification for the seizure of the tankers than there is for bombing the drug boat. So that's an interesting development. The vessel, the Skipper, was seized on international waters. It was carrying Venezuelan crude oil, according to U.S. officials, and a federal judge had previously issued a warrant for its seizure because of alleged links to Iranian-backed terror groups. The Trump administration took it, said this oil was going to be going to places it should not go, and they say sometimes these Venezuelan tankers also have drugs on them, and so they took action, and it's the very largest one ever seized, according to President Trump. I'm sure sometime in a meeting he said, "Is this the largest one ever seized? Let's take that one. Let's have the largest one ever seized." I guess he did that. The tanker might not have been directly related to the current showdown of the introduction of the drug boats, but it is seen as just a part of a way to force Maduro's hands and tell him that you need to leave office. And he has some offers to go to the Middle East. There's other countries that will take him. Let's save the hassle and get your butt out of there. Now, there's back channel conversation that Maduro has talked and said, listen, if I go somewhere in exile, will you make sure you don't hunt me down for a trial and crimes against humanity? Can I just live out the rest of my life peacefully? So there's a rumor that Maduro is looking for a way to exit, and he's trying to negotiate his very best terms. Millions of Venezuelans, of course, would welcome Maduro's departure, according to the news report. After grim years of authoritarian regime, it's impoverished the country, imposed repression, and forced millions to flee poverty and persecution. So the controversy in Washington continues as the Trump pressure increases, and the Venezuelan tanker is now under Coast Guard procurement. They have it in their custody, and they have it. Now, here's a fun thing. You think of the Coast Guard, you don't think of adventures like this. Now they have an actually recruiting video that they could use, I should say, for recruiting, and it's people of the Coast Guard dropping down off ropes off a helicopter saying, we're taking over this boat. That's the most action, and I mean this with all respect, is that the most action that the Coast Guard has seen in a long time? There's people that I know, people in armed service, the branches of service, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Space Force. And, oh, yeah, the Coast Guard. They always throw the Coast Guard in like it's not a big deal. Well, here it's obviously a big deal. So all of you people that have served in other branches and sometimes forget to list the Coast Guard, shame on you. The Coast Guard did great work seizing a Venezuelan tanker, and anybody who thought that the Coast Guard was a boring lifestyle, now they have images of Coast Guard guys actually coming out of helicopters. So I thought it was interesting. And I think recruitment may go up for the Coast Guard now that they say, oh, I get to do this. I thought only the other guys got to do this, but I get to do this as well. So the Coast Guard was involved, and congratulations to the Coast Guard out there. All right, it's bowl season, football bowls, and a lot of folks are going to start watching them. This college playoff thing is a fiasco. And the fact that the NCAA can't figure out how to operate a playoff system. And I know the NCAA football division is really tough right now with all the NIL and all the name, image, and likeness money and players making millions of dollars. I understand that it gets difficult, but whether you're a amateur league like they used to be or whether you're a professional league, there's a way to conduct a football playoff system. You build your brackets. How do you get in the brackets? You set the stipulations, you set the rules, you set the agendas, you set the tiebreakers, and suddenly everyone fits neatly in a bracket. Well, evidently the NCAA cannot figure this out. So the NC2A has decided that they're going to say automatically the top five power conferences or so, they get an automatic bid into the 12 people in the bowl system. Well, the rest of them are going to be arbitrary. The rest of them are going to be, let's throw something at a dartboard and say this one gets in, this one doesn't get in. And I find it frustrating. There's big controversy, of course. How did Alabama get in? How did Notre Dame get left to the side? So a lot of controversy about this bowl thing and this football playoff system. And of course, you had Notre Dame, Kansas State, Iowa State saying they're not going to go to another bowl because one of the reasons they can't do that is because a lot of their players, when they realize that they're end of season, the NIL, controlled by the NCAA, has a transfer window that you have to declare when you're transferring or that you're leaving. And so players have declared, hey, I'm leaving the school. I'm going to transfer out of here. Kansas State had that problem. And then they go, well, we got a bowl game. Well, I'm sorry, I'm taking a scholarship at another school. I'm leaving. The NCAA is too stupid to figure out the coordination of a calendar when it comes to when you can declare for the transfer, etc. So the college football bowl system is a mess. The playoff system is a mess. And the NC2A is not bright enough to, I think, fix the actual problem. And the fact that they can't, like every other sport out there, whether it's professional football or college basketball, figure out here's the rules to make the bracket. And if you make the bracket, you make the bracket. Here's the rules. But instead, they still have this selection committee that's made up of arbitrary people that I don't know how you apply to get on that, but somehow you get on the selection committee and you get to decide which college gets into the final few spots of the college football playoff system. And if there was a merit-based system, then you wouldn't have to have a selection committee doing this, causing all the controversy. That being said, I'll still watch the college football playoff system. It's going to go for a long time. I think the first round is like this week or so, this week or next week. And it's going to go through the first of the year into late January, I think, or at least maybe early February. So it's going to go for a while. It's going to drag on forever and ever, which I guess is good because about the time football season ends, I realize there's nothing to look forward to on television except usually the new season of American Idol. That's what I end up watching after football season, after Christmas. That usually starts in January, and I'm a big American Idol fan, so I watch that. That being said, if you're going to a football game, there's a lot of the bowl games out there. You travel for your team. You want to go with the alumni party. I know people that do that every year. I have also been to a national championship football game. I believe it was Alabama versus Clemson. I went to that one. I think I went to another one as well. Alabama and Clemson, that was down in Scottsdale several years ago. Well, one of the best parts of going to a football game, here's the setup for you, is the food at the stadium. When you go to a high school football game, a pee-wee football game, if they have a concession stand, what is your favorite food to eat there? Now, most of us think of the hot dogs, which I think a good stadium hot dog is fantastic. Overpriced, but it's very, very good. A hot dog is fantastic. The nachos, love the nachos. Producer Chad and I were talking about before the show that if you're going to get the nachos at whether you're getting the nachos at a movie theater or whether you're getting the nachos at a stadium, this little cup of cheese they want to give you now, you peel the top off of it, stick it there. No bueno. I want the old stuff in the little serving thing. They slather that thing on there and they get a healthy dose of the jalapenos on there. I want that to be my stadium nachos. I don't want this neat. I went to one place, they gave you a little bag of nachos, chips, said Tostitos. So Tostitos has branded this. You put them there, you empty them out, and then they give you a small cup of cheese. And you're like, open that up and pour that. That's dumb. I don't want nachos that way. I want nachos the old-fashioned way where you slather the plastic cheese on top of it. Well, the 10 most popular stadium foods have been introduced and announced, and I want to go over your favorite stadium food, and then I want to float this one to you. There's a new food that's coming out at the Citrus Bowl in Orlando this month. The bowl has been sponsored by Cheez-Its for many years. They've been sponsoring the bowl game since 2018, and they've been the main sponsor of the Citrus Bowl since 2023. So this year they have worked it out with the concessionaires there that at the game you can go, starting in the second quarter, you can buy a turkey leg that has been that's been, I guess, not marinated. It's been breaded with crushed up Cheez-Its. So you're going to get a cooked turkey breast that the breading on it is going to be the crushed up Cheez-Its. No Cheez-Its crusted options made the list of the top 10, but this is going to be unveiled at the Citrus Bowl in Orlando this month. And I have to ask you, does this sound a fantastic option for you to have, that you would have the Citrus Bowl turkey leg? I think it'd be fantastic. I would try it for sure to get the Citrus Bowl turkey leg from Cheez-It. So let me ask you, what is your favorite stadium food? If you go to a stadium, what is the food that you absolutely positively want to have? I'd like to have the I like to have the hot dog. I think a good hot dog is always fantastic. The nachos are good if they're done right. And I agreed, producer Chad and I were singing the same song this morning, that he also likes a well-done pretzel. That is a very good thing. To have a great pretzel with some nacho cheese is a good thing as well. So give me your thoughts, your favorite stadium food. When you go to the stadium, what is it that you absolutely positively have to have? There it is, the Cheez-Its giant crusted turkey leg right there on your screen. How does that look for you? It looks fantastic to me. I like it. Cheez-Its. Huh. I'm thinking of all the things you crush like crackers up to make something. I bet Cheez-Its could be a fantastic binder or breading for a lot of things. Now that I think about it, producer Chad is a chef. We should find out the most creative thing he can think to do in his recipes with crushed up Cheez-Its. But there it is. It's going to be the Citrus Bowl. Makes you want to go to the Citrus Bowl. All right, your favorite stadium food, let me know. Steve says on the YouTube channel, he says hot dog, bratwurst, and peanuts. Never was the big peanut fan of the stadium. I know a lot of folks do that during the baseball game. I didn't like it that much. The hot dog, I'm all game for it. You give me a hot dog. Beer and a dog, a Red Sox clam chowder. Now, speaking of the Red Sox having clam chowder, I believe the Colorado Rockies have Rocky Mountain oysters as well. And if you're a person who doesn't know what a Rocky Mountain oyster is, you should look that up and consider trying the Rocky Mountain oysters, which I've tried many times, and I don't mind them as long as I don't think about what I'm eating. Stacy says, I just order a hot dog or a hamburger. Bratwurst with all the toppings. Just a plain hot dog. It doesn't have to be fancy. Doesn't have to be fancy wiener meat or anything. Just easy. Just a plain old hot dog. Don't care how it's made. I like it. And yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's hard to fix a hot dog, though, at the stadium. We go to the baseball game. They give you the thing. It's in a foil or a little dish. And you go back to the little concession area, and you're pumping the ketchup or the mustard on it, the relish and the onions. And it's awkward, but it's worth it. It really is worth it. And for some reason, does anybody ever make hot dogs at your home the way that you make a hot dog at the stadium? I do remember growing up, sometimes we'd have a hot dog night, or, if a lot of friends were over, my mom would make hot dogs for all the kids. I kind of remember that, but as far as a family meal, I don't remember hot dog night. You might remember Taco Tuesday. I think one of the reasons hot dogs are so fantastic is because the only time we ever do a hot dog exactly like the stadium is at the stadium, and that's why it's a great food. Let me go through the top 10, and then I'll let you comment your favorite stadium food. Number one is hot dogs. They make up 18% of stadium food mentions across every sport. Everyone talks about hot dogs, so hot dogs are top across all sports. Second one, I don't even think of as a stadium, but it's number one. 11% of Americans say this is their top stadium food is fries, French fries. And I'm trying to think if I've ever ordered French fries, maybe on the side with a burger. Maybe I've done that. I'm surprised, but number three, I thought it'd be number two, would be nachos. Nachos are at number three with 10%. Pizza's also there with 10%. I don't even think of pizza as a stadium food. I don't think of that as well. Also on there, let me go through some of the list here. On the list of stadium foods, I'm trying not to sneeze on the camera, by the way. I'm trying to hold my cough button nearby in case I have to go away and sneeze a little bit. Please pardon me if I do. All right, I lost the tab now because I was looking for the cough button. Pizza is number 4. Popcorn is number 5. Popcorn was the one, maybe because it was affordable, I don't know, but when my dad and I always, as a kid, we had season tickets to the Dallas Cowboys back when they played in the old Texas Stadium, and Tom Landry was the coach, and I was just knee-high to a grasshopper, as they say. I was a wee little tyke, but Dad took me to the football games almost every Sunday, season tickets. And we were not, I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth, let's just say that. And so, but at halftime, we would oftentimes go right before halftime, and we'd go get a thing of popcorn. And I was like, as a kid, I thought it was cool because it was served in something that was shaped like a megaphone. And at the very end after that, you could yell through it. As a kid, I thought that was kind of cool. Popcorn, that was a big deal. And we would get a drink. And usually because I was a wee tyke and I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, and my dad was also cheap, sometimes we'd get one big drink, and I was allowed to have some of my dad's drink. No, it wasn't beer. They didn't serve beer at Texas Stadium back in those days. That was in the Bible Belt, and on Sunday mornings you didn't serve beer. People still wear their church clothes to the football games. Sometimes people dressed up, not like the slacker drunkards that we have today. It was a more proper environment, but we would get a popcorn and at least one drink. That was our treat. I don't remember having ever a stadium growing up with my dad ever going to the concession stand and getting a nacho or hot dogs. I think I looked at people with nachos and hot dogs and said, they're the richest people here. And because we got the popcorn. That's all we got. One popcorn, one drink, and we shared it. All right, number 6 is wings. I've never eaten wings at a game, but evidently some places serve it. Now, number 7, this should be higher up on the list according to producer Chad and I, is the hot pretzel. The hot big pretzel, soft, done well. It's got to be done well, not microwaved. It's got to be really done well. I see people do this at the baseball games in the summer, and I don't get it. But number 8 on the list is top stadium food is ice cream. Number 9 on the list, 3% of Americans say their top food at the stadium is a taco. Again, never eat a taco at a stadium. Somebody must have had some killer tacos at a stadium to do that. And number 10 is the peanuts. 2% is saying the peanuts are the best thing. And I can't even, just peanuts. It's just, anyway, they also took a look at the top condiments that are there. Ranch dressing is top there. And again, I've never gotten ranch dressing in a stadium, but people say that's the top condiment. Ketchup is is next, and mustard. Ketchup and mustard are the top condiments, period. Ranch dressing, I can't think of anything, unless you're doing the wings. I can't think of anything I would need ranch dressing for on any of those. I just can't think of anything. All right, your top stadium foods, let us know. That is your question of the day. It is bowl season, and yeah. So anyway, let me know about that. All right. What else we got here? We got the narco terrorists are dead. 87 of them by so far. 20 drug boats have been knocked out of the water by President Trump, and now we find out that we have seized an oil tanker. What say you? I'd like to hear what you say about us taking the oil tanker. What do you think of this action against Venezuela? Is this something that President Trump, who can say that he has never really started a war, is this Trump being a little bit more aggressive and what would they call a hawk? Or is this something that is necessary for national security? Venezuela has been tied to a lot of drug running, and a lot of people have been poisoned by fentanyl in America. So my question for you is, do you favor this aggressive hawk-like tactic against Venezuela? Is this a little bit too aggressive for you? There's been great controversy when it comes to bombing the drug boats. Republicans and Democrats have said they'd like Pete Hegseth to come testify about the legality of that. So, but I ask you this question now that we have ramped it from just about drug boats to actually seizing an oil tanker. Do you believe this was in the purview and the interest of the American public? Do you believe this is good policy by President Trump? What say you? I'd love to get your take on this, because one of the things we've all loved about President Trump is that he hasn't started wars. He hasn't used he's walked softly, but we've carried a big stick. And now we find ourselves becoming very day-to-day engagement with the big stick and using that big stick. So what say you? I'd love to get your take on that. What do you think of the Trump policy? Is this reminiscent for some people of foreign entanglements? A lot of folks voted for Trump because he was not one for foreign entanglements. How is this one different? I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's not justified. I'm just asking you, because I do know a lot of the things that one of the things that we have fear and trepidation is about is that we'll have another Republican and or Democrat that will get us in some kind of a long military drawn out war, that our boys and girls are on the front line and they're fighting a cause that we're not exactly sure what it is. But is this appropriate action? Give me your thoughts. Thumbs up, thumbs down to the aggressive military action, Coast Guard, all the way down to the bombing of the drug boats and seizing the oil tankers. Do you agree or disagree with the policy that the president is having in Venezuela? Love to get your take on that. Do you agree or disagree with that policy? Also, another policy that people are kind of fed up with is Tampon Timmy. Tampon Timmy up in Minnesota has been caught up in this scandal of money that has gone back to Somalians and not necessarily been treated correctly. There's a story in Just the News, I won't bore you with it, that a lot of pundits say this is the end of Tampon Timmy. Tampon Timmy, who had hopes and aspirations of carrying on the mantle of his campaign and Kamala's campaign and running for president in a few years. Some people say Tampon Timmy, as the governor of Minnesota, saw that that was his next career move, that he was going to be the next president or the next Democrat nominee. And there's a lot of folks, Democrats and Republicans, saying this kind of knocks Tampon Timmy out of the race. So if you're up in Minnesota watching the show, give us your thoughts. We know what we think about Tampon Timmy, and we know what we think about the Minnesota fraud that's happened up there. But is this the end of Tampon Timmy? A lot of folks say that it is. Now, there's another story about this scandal in Minnesota. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer is warning, he warned it on this week, that the fraud in Minnesota is likely more widespread than Democrats want to believe. Federal prosecutors now have uncovered multiple alleged fraud schemes involving Somali immigrants in Minnesota that have siphoned billions, that's with a B, billions of dollars in taxpayer money for food, welfare, and autism safety net programs. It took that and it went to the Somalian immigrants and some of their programs they were involved with. James Comer from the House Oversight Committee says his committee is investigating several areas that with revelations from whistleblowers that counter Democrat claims, including Tampon Timmy's claim that illegal migrants were not on welfare programs and that there was no fraud or abuse within the welfare system. Comer said to Just the News No Noise television show, he said, I think we're going to find that the Minnesota fraud is probably happening also in other states. Minnesota could be and hopefully is the worst offender, according to Comer, but there are other blue states run by Democrat governors who refuse to turn over their data, not only to Congress, but they're not giving it to the cabinet secretaries like Agricultural Secretary, trying to get a handle on programs like SNAP. So if you're running a program like SNAP, the food stamp program, that money does not come from your state. It's fed into you by the federal government. The federal government is like, hey, can we have some oversight? Could you let us know where all these billions of dollars we have given you have gone? Can you prove to us that you haven't handled that money as carelessly as they have in Minnesota? And there are many Democrat states that are refusing to hand over the audit trail and refusing to hand over the reports, and I'm sure they're going to get them by subpoena. But you have to ask yourself, why is it that a state would not want to tell the person providing them the funds, here's the accountability of the funds, here's the dollar amount we spent, here's what it went to. But there are people and states out there that are absolutely rejecting the audit trail and the accountability report. All right, glad to have all of you here on the program. Again, Stadium of the Day as we head into football bowl season in college football. If you're going to a bowl, do you have some type of food that you have to have at the stadium? I know a lot of different stadiums have different food that you can get. I believe the Colorado Rockies have Rocky Mountain oysters, I believe, the baseball team here in Colorado. You also have one of my favorite barbecue spots. There's a couple of barbecue spots that I like in Colorado. We're not as plentiful and awash with barbecues as we were in the motherland growing up in Texas, but there's a couple of them. One is called GQ barbecue. I think yeah. They serve at the stadium as well now. They started in Westminster, Colorado. Kansas City winner, KC barbecue winner comes to Colorado, and now they have several locations. That's a great one. GQ barbecue. That's fantastic. There's another one, Georgia Boys barbecue, that's really good in the state of Colorado. But I believe GQ you can get at not just the Denver Broncos Stadium. I think they have a stand. I think they have one at the Colorado Buffaloes Boulder campus where Coach Deion Sanders makes his claim. But so yes, you could say there's some select stadiums and locations that have some fantastic food that you can't get anywhere else. But overall, hot dogs are the number one food that people like to have at a stadium. Kevin says at Pittsburgh Stadium, Primate Brothers Sandwich, PNC Park, and the Acrisure Stadium. So some kind of a sandwich, Primate Brothers. That sounds scary. I travel to Africa 3 or 4 times a year, and I don't really want to hear about primates being in a sandwich. I'm just saying, maybe that's not the best name. All right, give me your thoughts also on the way that we are engaging with Venezuela. Jeff says there on the Facebook feed, Venezuela has to diversify their delivery methods. I'm worried about human shields hostages being used on future conveyances. That is a possibility. You never know how these terrorists will do, these dictators. But do you? Kevin says Primanti. Sorry, it looked like primate on my screen. Primanti. It's a certain brand there. All right. Yeah. What the producer is asking. Okay, Stacey says the producer is asking what color my shirt is. Is that on my screen? Oh, does this shirt look green? I see producer Chad there being sarcastic. Ladies and gentlemen, in honor of the season festivities, I know the color may be wrong. I am wearing a green shirt today. You're welcome. I know it's always blue or black, and I get it. But the producer wanted to know. See, none of you noticed it, producer Chad. They didn't even notice it. They've forgotten my shirt colors anymore, and now I have on a green shirt. It's in honor of Christmas. Actually, when I was getting dressed early this morning, it was still dark outside. And as it was dark outside, I didn't really flip on the full light in the closet. I had a couple of other lights on in the room, and I just grabbed it, thought it was gray, and then I pulled on the lights. Oh, it's a green shirt. I'm going to wear a green shirt. Merry Christmas to all. So does this shirt look green? It doesn't to you, but the producer Chad, he knew immediately it was green. Kevin says it has a green tint. You're welcome. All right, good to have all of you here on the show. Everybody's happy to be here. Jay Ratliff, aviation travel experts, coming up in just a moment. Is Tampon Timmy toast? A lot of folks say Tampon Timmy is not only toast, but there could be some people that face some kind of, not necessarily him, because I'm sure he's protected by the office, but there's going to be some indictments coming down even more in Minnesota and possibly other states up there for the fraud and how they've used these dollars, and how illegal immigrants or other people have benefited that should not have benefited from a lot of this stuff. So that will be discussion in coming days, but it could be that old Gavin Newsom, who thought he was going to have to probably fight Tampon Timmy for the nomination, and anybody who thought that Tampon Timmy would be one of the sure bets. A lot of folks say Tampon Tim is done, and if he thought to bring out his jazz hands and run for president as a Democrat, it's probably not going to be probably not going to happen. Absolutely, possibly, positively not going to happen. All right, good to have all of you here on the show. Everybody's happy to be here. A lot of great folks out there commenting. By the way, thousands of earballs will hear this show by the end of the day. We'll load it up on the podcast platforms, iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Podbean, etc. And we're on dozens of different Facebook feeds and Twitter feeds right now. And you may see a small count where you're looking at, but if you total up all of our feeds, by the end of the day, even those who listen in in the postmortem, thousands of earballs will hear this show, and we're grateful to each and every one of you. And as a backup, if you want to find us on all the podcast platforms, just look up Jimmy Lakey Unleashed or Lakey Unleashed. You'll see a couple of my other podcasts there as well. But like and subscribe on all the podcast platforms. That way, if you miss something or you're heading off for the holidays for a vacation and you just hear your mother-in-law talking in your ear at the family gathering, put on some AirPods, pull up your podcast, and you can listen to any of the Lakey shows, the Lakey Unleashed programs. And, of course, there's other podcasts out there that I've done that you're welcome. But Lakey Unleashed is the name of this one, and it's a great backup alternative. All right, you did notice my green shirt. I don't know if you notice I have a head cold going on. It's getting better, but if I sound a little weird or nasally or I turn my head and cough, it's not because the doctor's here giving me a physical. It's because I need to turn my head and cough and carry on with the show. So I apologize if my voice is a little bit weird. I mean, I know I have kind of the dulcet tones anyway, so maybe it's not too unbearable, but I feel like I feel like maybe I don't have the best presentation voice today, but we'll get through it. All right, let me welcome my first guest of the morning. Healthcare has been in the news for a long time. Since Obamacare, we were told that Obamacare was going to really fix some things, and we were going to really we were going to really fix America with healthcare. Now, every election cycle, we're told that healthcare sucks in America. And we're told again, the same way pre-Obamacare, that it's Republicans' fault that we have bad healthcare. But I thought Obamacare was the end all be all. So it's been really, for most of my adult life here, and for the last many years, healthcare always comes up. And a lot of different states are trying to handle it different ways. Of course, we just had a budget shutdown about incentives and or rebates and or money that the federal government said was helping the individual lower their insurance rate, but it was actually just a bonus. People didn't even know that the government on their behalf was sending that to insurance company. So just insurance company money. So it is a big mess everywhere. That being said, I want to welcome in our first guest, Julian Hagman, the Chief Operating Officer of Caring Professionals Incorporated in the state of New York. He recently testified about some craziness that they're trying to pull off in New York. I'll let him explain it. But Governor Kathy Hochul there is trying to overhaul a healthcare program that, well, if it works now, she's trying to screw it up, maybe in favor of her friends. Julian Hagman, not just, I'm sure, America's healthcare, but the state of New York. He testified in front of a state Senate Joint Committee of the Standing Committee of Health and Senate Standing Committee on Investigations and Government Operations. Please welcome Mr. Julian Hagman into the program. If I get the right buttons here, I have a head cold and my fingers don't work. It's a bad day. No, it'll work here in a second. I'll get Julian up here. Oh, wrong button there. Sorry. Sometimes there we go. Oh, there we go. Producer Chad added him, and I took him away. I got a head cold, Julian. I can't pay attention.
No worries. How are you, Jimmy?
Very well. Great to have you here. First of all, tell about Caring Professionals and the business that you're in, and the industry that you serve, and what drew you to it.
Sure. So Caring Professionals is a licensed home care agency and services the New York State. We've been in operation for 33 years, servicing these individuals. I've been with Caring Professionals 9 years. I've been in the home health fields for over 13 years in New York State. So I have a lot of experience in that space. I've seen it grow and go through different programs, seen changes, different things come in, what works, what doesn't work. Recently, I testified in a joint health committee that was put together over overhaul of a CDPAP program. It's a consumer direct program in New York State, where the state wanted to consolidate all of these different programs into one provider. So that's pretty much where you just left off right there. Me personally, I've been focused on the home and community-based sector for, like I said, upwards of 15 years now. That's my specialty. That's my priority. That's, what I do.
So let's talk about that. We hear Obamacare is broken. I think a lot of folks will agree with that. And every state kind of has their own solution. We have a healthcare exchange program in Colorado. I know some friends that have benefited from it. I know people that hate it. What's the solution been in New York to make sure that New Yorkers have good access to healthcare? And is it working now? And what's the new proposal?
So New York definitely has a lot of pros, right? I mean, when we were unwinding from the COVID health extensions and everything along those lines, New York took a very proactive response and did all this outreach to, all these individuals to make sure they reapplied and recertified, to make sure they weren't cut off on benefits if they were qualified for it. Right. So you have a picture in one aspect where they were very competent. And then you take my program and, you look at the state and you're like, are you incompetent? I don't understand here. You have the capability to do all these things, but instead, it seems like you just swept it all on the rug and wanted to, give your buddy a contract.
It seems as if, and this has been one of the struggles that people we're learning with these, the whole government shutdown that just recently happened, that the insurance companies are really the ones that have benefited from Obamacare and or a lot of these state-run policies and the state-run programs. Talk about the insurance industry rather than the consumer being on the better end of the deal are the only ones getting rich and getting the benefits right now, not just in New York, but nationally? Is it just the insurance companies?
So no, it's not just the insurance companies, but from the insurance company standpoint, right? They have their gross margins they have to meet, right? So whether they cut the providers in order to maintain those margins, which affects the quality of care being received by the end recipient, or however they want to cut that sort of pie, right? The insurance companies are going to have their 20-30% at the end of the day, right? That's all they really care about. They don't care about after the fact of that. They don't care about, the providers who's in the home taking care of the people, the social workers, the nurses. Yeah, right. My net profit margin is 4%. Right. And I'm dealing on much smaller numbers than, the big insurers out there that are dealing with billions of dollars.
The program you were talking about earlier is the CDPAP, the CDPAP program. And if I'm understanding, it allows the elderly, the sick in New York to choose their own caregivers. And that was a big part of Obamacare. If you like your doctor, you can keep it. Well, it turns out that was a lie. A lot of folks didn't get to keep their doctor, even though Obama lied about it. So now with the CDPAP program in New York, people get to keep their own caregivers. They have somebody they trust, someone they feel comfortable with. And that's very good. The family's comfortable. But now the government's wanting to step in and change that to where, like, if you want your doctor, you can keep it. If you want your own caregiver, you can't keep him anymore.
So yes and no. And what happened was, so like I said, my company's been in the New York State for 33 years. We've been servicing this one specific industry for over a decade. We have, developed many relationships throughout the state of New York, right? That, we can refer our clients to go get additional care. We have a reputation. We have, people in the fields that see the same people every day. And so we have recollection with these people. When people think of an issue, when it comes to them, they could call us and we'll answer the phone and they know who they're going to be speaking to. They're going to pick up the phone and call Jenny. I'm going to call Jenny. Right. And so that's the way it's been operating. And it's been very successful. What happened in New York this past year in the CDPAP program is that the governor said, we want economies of scale and efficiency, and we need to put this out to bid. And I had one-on-one conversations with our executive team, and I explained why economies of scale and help doesn't work. It just never does. It never has, and it never will. But fast forward, they issued an RFP in last year's budget, so the 24-25 budget. And it comes out that just recently after the fact that they actually had a company handpicked that was written into the budget in the 24-25 budget.
Wow.
But you can't assign a company in a budget. You can say, I want to put this program up for RFP, but you can't say, I'm going to have Julian's company run this in an executive budget. It's illegal. But that's the way the budget was written originally, before the other legal got a hold of it and said you can't do this. And now fast forward, the program has been operating under this new leadership since April, and there are articles every single week coming out about how people are missing paychecks, people are going without care, people have left that program to go find alternative sources, alternative ways to receive care. So it's created an absolute mess in New York State. And, it is alleged, and we have paper trails, we have documents of, a backroom deal, bid rigging, whatever you want to call it. It is happening here with this program. It's a $9 billion a year program.
Wow.
There's a lot of money on the table. And, that's where we are. The Department of Justice has been involved in this. They've interviewed, myself, many of my other, industry professionals. They've interviewed the state. They've interviewed the company that won. So where does that stand? We wait to see.
Yeah. If I'm reading it correctly, only 4, they put out the RFP, then they only considered 4 of the bids that came in. And everybody expects that the winning company is going to be the one who the CEO donated to Democratic campaigns. And and with this decision, it's going to put it's going to be 600 local caregiving companies that could go out of business because of this.
Already gone. So that everyone's already out of business. I have other businesses, so I'm still here, right, and maintain. However, there's a lot of other businesses that are just completely gone, closed their doors, wrapped up.
It's amazing when you get politicians involved in healthcare. They all say it's for the children. All you get to keep your doctor, keep your care. But at the end of the day, it looks like these politicians just like to put programs in that might help their donors. A little quid pro quo. Is that really what this boils down to? Is that
100%.
100%.
100%. Like you said, only 4 qualified bidders in the entire RFP process. So one of the questions to be able to apply for the RFP in New York State for this program, you needed to have statewide experience in another state, not New York State, and outside of New York State. So you needed to have statewide experience in another state. Even though I've been providing this service in New York State for over 10 years, I didn't qualify because I didn't expand to another state and offer it in another state.
Wow.
How does that make sense?
First of all, what's your recourse? It's destroyed businesses, including your own. And what is your warning to people outside of the state of New York? I mean, what is the recourse, the solution you want to happen in New York? And then I'm sure you have some kind of a warning to go, beware, danger, politicians are nasty. I mean, what's for New York, what's for you, and what's for the rest of America?
So New York is we're right in the sort of middle of everything still. There's still lawsuits that are actively being engaged. Like I said, the Department of Justice is still actively engaged. I know the governor's feeling the wrath of this. There's been a bunch of evidence that just came to light this past week, including email communications from the state and Department of Health with the winning bidder that came out before the budget. And so all this stuff is still percolating and coming to light. And what I would like to see in New York is an actual investigation be done, get the individuals who were responsible for the state down to Washington, D.C., stand in front of everybody and answer some questions. I would love to see a congressional hearing out of this. I think it's very valuable for the residents of New York State to get a congressional hearing out of this to understand what we're dealing with. My concern with the rest of the states is you guys have to watch out. I mean, you would think that, I always lived by, everyone's always trying to do what's right for the next person. That's not the case. Everyone's trying to look out for, their own butt or their friend over there. How do I get them a contract? How do I get them to make money? And so people need to keep their eyes open. I mean, when bids come out like this, that smell, a state senator who's a Democrat in New York, he's the one that put the investigative committee together. He says, I see smoke, I smell smoke, I'm hearing the crackling of fire. What do you want me to do here, guys? It's like, I want them to do something. They need to act, right? This affects 250,000 people in New York State, just people receiving the care. Factor in the workers, that's another 350,000 people, right? So we're way north of 500,000 people. And then you have the family, the friends that are dealing with, when people don't show up for work, that have to then call themselves out of work to go take care of somebody. I mean, the ripple effects of this go on and on and on, far and through. And not to mention the insurance companies we spoke about earlier. The insurance companies are just as angry about this as we are. They had to pre-fund 3 months of billing to this new company. So I don't know if you're aware of how, typical Medicare, Medicaid billing works. You supply the service, you bill, you get reimbursed net 30, 45 days. It's typical business.
Yeah.
They actually demanded 3 months upfront payment. Who pays a company for upfront for services that haven't even happened yet? You don't know if that person's going to stay in the program. There's been no reconciliation of these dollar amounts. I mean, it feels like this company came in and just handed billions of dollars just for, saying, hey.
Yeah. Scott says on the screen there, it sounds like a typical government deficiency or inefficiency, if you will. I guess in New York, everybody in politics seems to have aspiration moving forward. We were talking earlier with the scandal on benefits that were happening in Minnesota that Tim Walz has probably done in his campaign for the presidency. I don't know if Hochul in New York ever wanted to go to higher office, but does this reach all the way up to her? Are her fingerprints obviously on it?
Her fingerprints are all over it. And, if it's not her direct fingerprints, it's her direct reports, right? It's, everybody in the executive office. And so, it's just like my company. If one of my employees did something negatively, that it would come back on me, right? And so whether she was directly involved in it or not, it doesn't really matter. It was somebody in your staff that was doing this, and it has to answer up. That's the only way for it to go.
Julian Hagman is the Chief Operating Officer of Caring Professionals Incorporated, based in New York. I know you're active on the web. You have a LinkedIn page. If folks want to learn more about you, stay in contact with you, reach out to you for any reason, where will they find you, sir?
Absolutely. On LinkedIn, Julian Hagman, Caring Professional, COO. You'll see me there. I'm very active on LinkedIn. Feel free to message me out there. You can go to my website, caringprofessionals.com. You can reach out to me on there. It has whole history of, New York State home health care, what we do in home health care, what separates us, and everything alike.
Well, the afflicted and the disabled in New York have been set to the curb so that Kathy Hochul's friends can make an extra buck. That sounds like what this boils down to.
At the end of the day, yes, absolutely.
Julian Hagman, I appreciate you hopping on here. Look him up on the LinkedIn, Julian Hagman, and learn more about caring professionals in the state of New York. And again, what happens sometimes in New York or what happens in California, you better pay attention. They're going to be trying that same kind of nonsense right where you're at. So pay very close attention and let that story be a lesson to all of us to keep a sharp eye on everything that's happening out there. All right, I got a football story for you, not the stadium food, but an actual football story. Anybody a University of Michigan fan, the old Wolverines, big fans out there? Well, I don't know if you've been following this. I wasn't really paying attention to it. I just read this headline late last night. Fired Michigan Wolverines head coach Sharon Moore was booked into jail on Wednesday night after the athletic director dismissed him for having an inappropriate relationship with a staffer. Sharon Moore was 39 years old. He is, and he was in the Washita County Jail in Michigan. The charges were not listed, but they say according to the police in Pittsfield, Michigan, say they responded to part of an assault investigation. Police said a suspect was taken into custody, and the incident does not appear to be random in nature. Police say the suspect was booked into jail. If you haven't followed the story, it just got worse and worse for Sharon Moore. Early in the day, he was dismissed by the program. The athletic director, Ward Manuel, said in a statement that credible evidence found that Coach Moore was engaged in an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. The conduct being involved with a staff member constitutes a clear violation of University of Michigan policy. They maintain a zero tolerance for such behavior. So allegedly, Sharon Moore, as the head football coach of Michigan, was having some kind of relationship with someone on the staff. Following the news reports of the police investigation, now the University of Michigan Athletic Department tells Fox Digital it cannot comment further on personnel matters and nothing to share beyond the initial statement of his firing. Francis Xavier Bipogi was named as the interim head coach at Michigan and will be on the sidelines when Michigan takes on Texas in the Citrus Bowl on December the 31st. So again, Michigan will take on Texas in the Citrus Bowl, and if Sharon Moore is going to be at the game, he's going to have to be up in the stands as a patron, eating that Cheez-Its turkey leg that they're going to have at the Citrus Bowl beginning of the second quarter. So, it's a Well, evidently, Sharon Moore was already suspended earlier this season because of his role in a sign stealing, a hand signal strategy as well. Didn't Michigan just was under investigation under Harbaugh? And Harbaugh decided to take off and go to the NFL so that he didn't face those NCAA sanctions. It seems like there's been some problems with that Michigan football program for a little bit of a time. And again, no word on the arrest. There's no speculation that it ties anything to do with the firing for Michigan. But whatever he felt from being fired from Michigan, he went somewhere, and there's some kind of report of some kind of an outburst at some other. They responded to a home as a part of an assault investigation. There's no clear indication whether it was his own home or someone else's home, but the guy that got arrested was Sharon Moore. So talk about a bad day. In the morning, you get fired. In the evening, you get arrested, and that's not good for Sharon Moore and or Michigan football. Any thoughts on that? Let me know if you have any information. You're up in Michigan, but that's all the information we have on that story right now. All right, Michigan, Minnesota. We've talked about all those great stories there. Let me ask you the most dangerous state for Christmas. Anybody know the most dangerous state? You say, how can a state be dangerous for Christmas? Well, I'll tell you how it can be. And then we'll go to Jay Ratliff for aviation and travel expert. If you spend the days in Vermont, Wisconsin, or Oregon, it's a miracle you're alive. Honest to goodness. That's the stat. A new study ranks the most dangerous states to be in for Christmas. It's based on 10 different metrics: fires, crime rates, injury rates, and how slick the roads are this time of year. The 10 most dangerous states at Christmas time. So if you want to cancel your travel, you're welcome. Thank you. I'm saving your life. Number one most dangerous state is Vermont. It ranks the very first for a few reasons. But driving conditions are a big one. The chances of a white Christmas are basically 100% in most places in Vermont, but the driving conditions are hell on earth. And Vermont is ranked as the most dangerous state to be in for Christmas and the holidays. The second most dangerous state is Wisconsin. You know what? Want to know why? Because of drinking rates. It means more injuries, more drunk drivers, and Wisconsin is very dangerous because evidently there's a bunch of drunk guys and drunk women out on the streets. So you might want to avoid Vermont. And you would drink too if you lived in Wisconsin, right? You drink as well, a lot. Oregon is also a place that is dangerous. It's number 3 on the list, and it has a lot of serious car crashes in general, and for some reason, just kind of like Vermont, but with less snow on the ground, but there's a lot of accidents. Now, number 4, you may not guess, but I'm going to tell you what it is. I live in it. It's the state of Colorado. One of the metrics was injury-related Google searches, and it's ranked high in that one. So people in Colorado, when they get geofenced, are looking about, oh, I have an injury. How do I treat this? And so according to Google, they're like, man, these people are broken there in Colorado. They're always broken. They're always injured. So number 4 on the list is Colorado. It's the top 4 most dangerous state to be in for Christmas and the holidays. So stay away. It's dangerous here. North Dakota is on the list for number 5. Now, there is some drinking involved in that and some crime that happens there. But one of the things that North Dakota is ranked high in this season, danger, is fire. And no specification on the fire, house fire, Christmas lights fires, frying your turkey fire, or maybe just wildfires. I don't know. North Dakota is dangerous. Number 6 is New Mexico. Very dangerous to be in New Mexico. High rate of accidental deaths. Just people they just died. That's bad. Montana's number 7. Maine is number 8. Connecticut is number 9. And Idaho is number 10. And Idaho ranked across the board on all the causes of how you be dangerous. Idaho was pretty consistently bad. According to the state of the stats, Mississippi is the safest state to be in for the holiday. So if you're looking for a safe place and to minimize your death threats, you might want to go to Mississippi for the holiday. Everybody thinks of great Christmas in Mississippi. Everybody wants their Christmas in Mississippi. It's the stuff of Hollywood movies, isn't it? Also is Utah, Texas, Virginia, Maryland, and Georgia. They all tied for the next place. So Mississippi's the safest, and then you got to go to Utah, Texas, Virginia, Maryland, and Georgia are all tied for the next place there. So dangerous places in the holiday season. Be very careful as you're out and about, and we want you to come back from the holidays alive. Be very, very careful. Speaking of holidays, one more quick holiday story for you. There's a viral trend going on. TikTok started it. It's a food hack. And I don't know, you ever get vanilla ice cream and you pour Coca-Cola or Pepsi or whatever you pour in it, and it's one they call it a Coke float, I think is what it's called. Well, here's there's one that's on TikTok, is that you take a bowl of ice cream and then you pour red wine on top of it. Has anyone ever done this? Evidently, it's been around for a while, but it's going viral now. You take the ice cream, you pour your red wine over it, and you put however much you want. And the bizarre combination, it's been kicking around the internet for a while. So a lot of the social soccer mom influencers out there have seen been trying it before, but it's going viral again. And they say it's a great Christmas treat while you're decorating the tree, to wind down your Christmas day, your Christmas Eve, while you're wrapping presents, whatever they would be. Now, for some people, it seems like they're ruining their ice cream or ruining their wine. But a lot of people say this is the dessert of the holiday. This is the dessert of the holiday. The problem, I don't know how the vanilla flavor goes with the dry red. I don't understand all that. But, yeah. Maybe you've tried it. I mean, it's been out there for a while. Instead of Coke or Pepsi or some soda, Dr. Pepper on ice cream, which is a float. This is something else, and a lot of folks are trying it. If anybody has tried this, let me hear you, and we would love to get your take on whether you put ice cream with your wine. Some people say that's good. On the X out there, Jeff says Sharon Moore situation is supposed to be a black and white incident. Nothing to see here. Well, it's a bad day. You get fired from a pretty good coaching gig at the University of Michigan. And that evening, you get arrested for some kind of an assault case that no one knows the details on. So there's still more to be told about that. But Michigan football's had some trouble for the longest time. They've back to the Harbaugh days. So got all you Wolverine fans, hang in there. It's going to get better. Sharon Moore is not going to be your coach, though. All right, I want to welcome into the program, as we do every Thursday this time, aviation and travel expert, Mr. Jay Ratliff, into the studio. Jay, how are you? Good morning, sir.
Hey, pleasant good morning to you. It's as I always like to say, my friend, too many things to be thankful for to be anything else other than good today.
You're in Ohio most of the time. That's where you're at your house in Ohio. Michigan, of course, big football rivals in Ohio. Was there a party in the streets that Michigan's having football trouble with their coach, or does anybody in Ohio care?
Well, we celebrate when they lose. But, when you first see that news, and we don't even use the M word in Ohio. It's the school up north.
Okay.
Because any rivalry that goes back 128 years is serious. But my first thought was how quickly things change and how some mistakes, and we all make mistakes. I spent a lot of time talking in prisons around the state of Ohio, and I always used to say the only difference between you and me is your mistakes are a matter of public record. Mine are not. So you feel for everybody that's involved. Obviously, if there was a crime committed, you want there to be justice. But it's just a reminder of how easy it is to slip up in so many different ways, and how many times we have to be very careful. I work with individuals that have been given second chances in the media because they made some pretty stupid comments that were able to go out over the air. And fortunately, they were able to get a second chance to get a part of their career back. But, it's really a reminder. And I never celebrate when somebody has a personal issue like this. But when an Appalachian State can go in and kick that team's tail like they did one year, yeah, we celebrate that. But certainly not this. You can have a healthy respect and hate at the same time for somebody, a school program like that. But I really feel for him today. It's sad to see, because I thought he was a very good coach, because he's kind of kicked our tails for the last 5 years. So you've got to give him credit for that.
Yeah. All right, Jay Ratliff, for aviation travel expert. I took him off track there, and he's
that's okay. You throw me curveballs all the time, brother. That's not a problem.
I try to. Well, if I knew you're in Ohio, I said, but to get someone that knows something about that school up north a little bit, I'm sure.
Well, keep in mind, we only spend about 40% of our time in Ohio. We've got a home in Georgia that we spend about 60% of the time. And my wife is from Savannah, and she's a big Bulldog fan. So It's a lot of fun when UGA plays Ohio State, because I'm certainly rooting for Ohio State to win.
And those are the days you sleep on the couch as well. So
that's been known to happen.
Jay Ratliff, real quick, I was just traveling, as you know, last week, and had an venture some travel there and back. And I, like all of us, I get off the plane. I want to use the Wi-Fi. I'm trying to connect to the network. Fortunately, I have good mobile service that allows me international coverage, so I'm good there. But I have at times been in an airport, and I see Denver public Wi-Fi or the public Wi-Fi for any airport. The TSA is saying, hey, be careful. You might not want to use that public Wi-Fi network.
And that's true. In fact, there's two things that TSA has told us over the last year that we need to be aware of. One, a lot of these airports have the public charging ports. I forgot my charger. It's in my checked luggage. Let me hook up to one of these public ports. There have been hackers that have actually designed some of these things at airports where people are unknowingly plugging into not something provided by the airport, but something that a hacker is using. So, and what they'll do is obviously get all the personal information off that phone, and that can gain access to a lot of different things that we have our password saved to. And it can be an absolute nightmare for us as we're traveling. This is big at international airports where people are flying out overseas, maybe not to be back for a week or 2 or 3, and maybe not know everything that's going on to your account until you get back and everything explodes. And yes, the other thing the TSA is indicating is care when you are connecting to those Wi-Fi networks, because what they found is there's hackers that have been able to access individuals' information because they connect to these servers, which many times are not as secure as what we would like. And then what happens is, again, personal information is captured and then used against us. So you need to be very, very careful And look, you know what it's like when we travel. We're exhausted.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not on our guard many times other than trying to protect our kids. And we're just surviving, enduring the nightmare of travel. So our guard many times is down, especially during a time of irregular operation when you've got maybe a snowstorm or some sort of winter operations, flights are canceled, you've got all kinds of things going on, and people are desperate to get on their phone to try to make arrangements for either ground transportation or backup flight information. So people are scurrying to get anything they can, and that is a perfect environment for scammers and hackers to jump into something like this and take advantage of unsuspecting travelers.
Have a friend who watches the show when he's at the Denver airport, and he's a Southwest Airlines very loyal, longtime employee. And he told me the story on Monday. I see it on our list today that Southwest Airlines is getting a break. The U.S. government a couple of years ago fined them for some the big meltdown that happened a couple of years ago, and the government has said, Southwest, you're all done with that payment. What happened here?
They wanted to raise my blood pressure even more, so they said, let's do this. No, Southwest, under the Biden administration, was hammered for that Christmas debacle that took place. It was the Christmas of 2000, I think it's 23, and they had a computer system that was, to say antiquated would be an insult to the word antiquated. I mean, it was mid-1990s. It was developed at a time when Southwest was about a third of the size that they are now, and it just crashed. And what happened was you had thousands and thousands of flights that were impacted, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of passengers impacted that week during a time when everything was full. So you had people that were trying to get to their destination for days and days and days and days without any luck. The Biden administration, through the Department of Transportation, launched an investigation to find out that Southwest was trying to nurse along this very outdated, needing to be updated and replaced computer system. And they said, look, this is not right. So they fined them $35 million. Because that was within the control of Southwest. Southwest could have taken some of that money that they were using in stock buybacks and other things and actually invested into the technology that would have better equipped their personnel, especially the men and women on the front line, to do the job that they do. Now, the problem is Southwest has a team of all-stars. These men and women find a way to make anything happen. When they were in the early days, and the only way they could make a profit was to turn that airplane in 600 seconds. Yes, seconds. They found a way to do it. So what happened was every time something would go crazy, these men and women in a heroic manner would find a way to save the day. Well, it just got to be too much. So Southwest was hit with this $35 million fine. They paid it in two increments. The third installation was supposed to be due in January, but now under the Trump administration, they're being told that $11 million, I mean, you promised not to do it again. Don't worry about it. It's, again, another example of how we've seen time and time again, and I'm a big fan of the Trump administration, don't get me wrong. Jimmy, they constantly are giving airlines a free pass. Boeing, under the Biden administration, had admitted to criminal wrongdoing in a court case over the Boeing MAX crashes. And it was on the record. Well, President Trump gets elected, and Boeing goes back to the Department of Justice saying, can we walk some of that back? And they were allowed to do it. And instead of going to court, they had to pay a fine, thank you, after two tragic crashes that the families were desperate to get Boeing to court. So a lot of this stuff could be made public, and they avoided it completely, again, because of what we have here. You and I talked right after President Trump was elected. I was happy that he was so. But all the airline stocks were going up, and people asked me why. Well, that's because people understood that during the first Trump administration, real good relationship between the industry and the airlines. In fact, right after he was elected, we had Boeing, United, American, Delta, and several others that donated $1 million a piece to the Trump inaugural fund. So, yes, none of what you said as far as what happened has taken me by surprise. In fact, Airbus, you remember the Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend, yep. Airbus had to ground the A320s because there was a maintenance update that had to be done, and it created travel chaos around the world. Now, we weren't impacted too much here, but that Saturday morning, hundreds of flights that were canceled. The DOT, I think today or yesterday, came out saying for passengers that were impacted, you're not entitled to any compensation.
Oh, wow.
Okay. That's not really a weather event. It's kind of in the control of somebody. So you see the pattern here, and sadly, it's going to continue to happen. Under the Biden administration, there was going to be a cash compensation rule that said if we were delayed as passengers more than 3 hours, not because of weather, but because of situations that were in essence the fault of the airline, we would be entitled to cash compensation. It's comparable to what happens around the world. But what's happened now? The Trump administration through the DOT says, we're going to think about that. So we're going to put it on the back burner. And I promise that will never see the light of day again under the Trump administration because of that relationship, or shall I say the power that the airline industry wields with regards to many times telling the government what to do instead of the other way around.
Speaking of what the government says they're going to do, right after the government shutdown, there was a promise that TSA agents that had been loyal attending work and not called in sick or not taking sick leave, they were going to get some big time bonuses. Kristi Noem was seen delivering checks to an airport, holding up a check. TSA agents and workers were going to get some bonuses. First of all, did they get the bonuses? And I know there's a story out of Tampa that some people got bonuses.
Yeah, in fact, the supervisors and are nominating TSA agents who were exemplary performance in their during the government shutdown, and many of them are starting to get thank you bonus checks of $10,000 a piece. We're seeing this throughout the country, which is really good news. I hope it continues. And you and I, even though we talked about during that 6-week shutdown, air traffic control centers that were being hammered and how they had to throttle back on the flights, you and I didn't have one topic on the TSA front lines where you had lines out the door. Now, there were a couple of occasions where that happened, but overall for that 6 weeks, you had everybody showing up. They were doing a good job. You didn't see delays at the checkpoints. And I mean, imagine not getting paid for 6 weeks and you're still expected to show up and do your job. And some people aren't exactly as nice as they need to be to some of these TSA agents. And yet they did their job. And again, I thought they did a very, very good job. And I was singing their praises throughout the pandemic or through the government shutdown because they were doing a wonderful job. So it's nice to see them rewarded. Now, some of the air traffic controllers were told that they might get a $10,000 check as well. And we had a group of them that said, no, we want more because pilots get a $100,000 bonus, retention bonus and things of this nature. And we are just as important in their eyes. And they were complaining. Now, I honestly think some of this had some political undertones because I think had it not been from President Trump giving this, had maybe Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, they might have said, oh, thank you, and sung their praises. But I don't know. If somebody shows up and says, Jay, here's a $10,000 bonus check for a great job, I will take it and cash it quickly.
Yeah. If someone would like to do that right now, I will leave the show and go straight to the bank. That'd be fantastic.
Yes,
all right, and let's have some good news here. Good news for Spirit Airlines. Yeah. Oftentimes the brunt of some many jokes about the airline industry in America, but Spirit Airlines got some good news.
Yeah, 350 of their pilots plus that were planning to be furloughed. Spirit has said we're not going to need to do that now. Spirit's done a lot of cost cutting. They've had their employees that have kind of agreed to some cuts. So Spirit Airlines is now saying, hey, we're going to not go through with this furlough, which is great news for those individuals, especially as you're approaching the holidays at the end of the year, because a lot of them were afraid they weren't going to have a job. I'm really hoping Spirit can pull it through. I like that airline a lot. They've done a lot over the years. I hope that they're going to be strong enough to continue to do what they're doing. I love what they're doing as far as the premium seats and some of the other things that they're offering. They've got a very loyal following. And hopefully the markets around the country that still have Spirit Airlines can support them because they're doing a great job. I'm still thinking there's a slim chance that we could see a Frontier Spirit merger. I'd love to see that. But we'll have to wait and see if we ever go back to there. I can promise you the Trump administration would quickly give its seal of approval to a Spirit Airlines Frontier merger. And that'd be great for employees, great for customers. And I would love to see it take place. Hopefully it does.
What's it like to move about the country, sir?
Very good. I mean, with apologies to perhaps Bismarck, North Dakota, from a hub standpoint, been pretty good. And hopefully it'll continue. And I think it's probably, I could say free from successful contradiction, best day of the week to travel.
Jay Ratliff, always a pleasure, sir. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it. And we'll talk again soon. JRatliff.com. JRatliff.com. Also go to Day Trade Fund. Look that up as well. And that's all Jay Ratliff's site. And if you go to his site, don't be afraid. Don't be scared. He's got a lot of stuff about day trading. He's a prolific day trader. Teaches classes on it. He makes more media appearances probably on day trading and the stock market than he does on travel, etc. But JRatliff.com, JRatliff.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap up our Thursday edition of the show. We got to do the stolen memes. But before I do, I wanted to remind you about Sherry Cree. Her website is homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. And one of the things you need to just recognize, I know it's getting busy. We're a couple of weeks away from Christmas, but if 2026 is the year that you're going to buy, you're going to sell, you want to first to be home for a home buyer, now's the time to really just take a few minutes and have a consultation with Sherry and talk about it. She talked about it on the program. We'll have her on the show tomorrow. But last time she was on, she talked about the importance that if you're going to be springtime activity, buying or selling, don't miss the first spring window. A lot of folks think, well, I'll wait till March, April, May, and that's when I'll get in the real estate game. And she says, careful, there's a window that is oftentimes can be more beneficial if you can get going earlier buying or selling. So talk to Sherry, have that strategy, that timeline in place. And that way, when the time comes for right for you to put the sign in the yard and or make an offer on a home, it's the right timing for you and everything has been in alignment. And Sherry will walk you through that process. It's the giving season, whether it's a Christmas season or any time year round. She'll take a portion of her commission she makes on a transaction, and she will donate that portion to the charity that you instruct her to give it to. So she's really one of the most generous persons you will find when it comes to taking business into generosity. She will do that. If you're a veteran, first responder, military person, she will discount her own commission so that at least more money in your pocket. That's just an automatic. Homeswithsherry.com, that I-25 corridor in Colorado, for the Denver metro out to the Boulder area, the Aurora area, Fort Collins, Greeley, Windsor, Wellington, down to the Park Meadows area, Lakewood, Littleton. Homeswithsherry.com, Thornton, Colorado. Hello. Homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. Be sure to tell her that you heard about her on this program. We'll talk again, hopefully, with her tomorrow on the show, homeswithsherry.com. All right, it's time for the meme roulette section of the show. Before I get to that and we rewind it up, I do want to remind you I have an ongoing request of you, and that is to get the globe in place for the spinning of the wheel. Those of you who are in your giving season, and it's time for those end-of-the-year gifts, I ask you to remember our charity, Rivers Promise. You see it over my shoulder. I just looked it up, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com. I haven't sent out a full email to our list, but I've announced it on this show. I am asking and looking for and praying for about 15 people that would donate a one-time gift of $1,950. So that's a big amount. Yes, it is, and not everybody can do it, and I understand that, but some of you immediately go, I could do that. And what that does is that will operate one of our classrooms of 30 children for an entire month. And that would just be a big help, take a lot of pressure off our monthly as we head into 2026. If you could do that, $1,950. Maybe you can't do the whole amount. Maybe you do 1,000, maybe do 500. I oftentimes say, hey, there's options. I give you all the time options for $10, $30, $65 one time. I wanted to throw some options out there for somebody that says that doesn't challenge me, but this does. We're looking for about 15 people that would do $1,950 one-time gift. And I would appreciate you doing that. And you can drop it in the mail. The address is on the website as well. But if you do, send us a note. That way we can kind of keep track of it. We've gotten a few of these so far, and we want a few more. And we're just asking for that. We're sending an email out. If you're on the email list, you'll see that coming up soon. But it's riverspromise.org is the website. We're looking for about 15 people that would do a one-time gift of $1,950. And that would, for one classroom, that will pay for their expenses for an entire month. If you could help us with that, $1,950, 1950. Just remember, it's a good year. I wasn't born, but it was a good year. I'd love to have you. Go to riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com, and see if you can help us out with that. We'd appreciate that. And some of you already have, and some of you are thinking about it, but we ask you to think about it and take action. $1,950. Again, all the time I give you options on $10 does this, $35 does this. You get the idea. But this is just a one-time ask for a big windup of our school year. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the meme roulette section of the show. This is where we go around the globe and we steal memes from everywhere we can find them. And then finally, the Chinese are going to get upset in about 3 minutes and tell us to stop stealing intellectual property. And when you steal enough memes of the intellectual property that the Chinese get offended, you know it's a big deal. Here we go. Let's do it. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Babylon B, now we know. Nigerian prince scammed by a Somali immigrant. Yep, finally somebody got the Somalian prince. They scammed him, the Somali immigrants. It was maybe it wasn't an immigrant. It might have just been Tim Waltz. Yeah. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Top picture is conservatives after a decade of being called deplorable, uneducated, racist, bigoted, fascist, and Nazis. That's us. We just laugh at it anymore. It's water off a duck's back, as they say. We don't care, sticks and stones breaks our bones, but your words don't hurt us. This is liberals on the bottom picture after somebody gets called retarded. They just cry and cry and cry. They're very upset about it. Yeah, can you imagine how if they would have been called retarded or all these other nasty names for 10 years, a decade or so? Whew, they'd really have a meltdown. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. That little boy looks like he's doing a little what we call pouting. Grandma warned you in or out, but you kept going. Now you're stuck on the couch watching Days of Our Lives. Yeah, they still have soap operas, right? I don't know if there's soap operas of the day. I don't know. But yeah, we all get that. Yeah, Grandma said, you sit down right here. Well, you're watching General Hospital. You're watching it with me, dang it. Stop going in or out. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. There's Phillip Rivers. Indianapolis Colts debut a new trick play where Phillip Rivers fakes a handoff to running back, then runs off the field to get his wife pregnant again. Well, he's got like 17 kids, right? He's got like 45 billion kids. Yeah, I don't know. Is it Catholic, Mormon? I don't know. He's got a lot of kids. Yeah, he's faked the handoff and then, oh, baby, let's go make another baby. Yeah. So it's good work if you can get it. It's going to make millions of dollars to go do that, too. Imagine that. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. As an adult, I always forget that I can literally get in my car, buy a cake whenever I want, and no one can stop me. I did have a revelation moment like that one time. I was driving many years ago. I was pretty new to Colorado. They'd opened a Krispy Kreme donut shop, and good donuts in Colorado were hard to find at the time. Now I've found my donuts because I love donuts. And I saw Krispy Kreme, and the light was on, and it said it's hot donuts inside. And I stopped and I said, I'm going to a meeting at my church. I should take some donuts. And I got a dozen Krispy Kreme hot donuts in the box. And by the time I got to the meeting, almost all the donuts were gone. I was testing them. I didn't want there to be food poisoning for anybody. I didn't eat the whole box, but I ate them. And I realized, I can do this. I'm a grown man. I can buy donuts and eat them all if I want to. Nobody's going to stop me. Yeah, paying for it now. Yeah, we got to lose some weight. Round around the globe we go. That was years ago, though. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Where can I find a job to be a professional tequila, margarita, and guacamole taco taster? If you're applying, I'm applying. I'm ready to do that as well. Tequila, margarita. Yeah. Well, I'm a professional at most of those things. I just don't get it. It's not a job. Yeah. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. China has said stop. Intellectual property theft. It's very bad for you to do. All right, go to the website, riverspromise.org, and please make that donation. If you can't do the $1,950, do what you can. I give you options all the time for $10 does this, $35 does this, $30 does this, $65. I give you those options all the time to prove that a little bit goes a long ways. It can do a lot, but this is a bigger ask, and if you can do it, we'd appreciate it. $1,950. Looking for about 15 people total. We've started this step towards that. We don't need 50. If we get 15 more, it's a double bonus. But we have a few of these already coming in. $1,950. We appreciate it. Just go to the website, riverspromise.org. And if you are going to mail that check, because some of you do like to mail checks, I got some in the mail just over the weekend. When I got back from Africa, there were some checks waiting from listeners and viewers. So send us a note if you don't mind. Say, hey, Send us that note and let us know. That way we can start counting it towards our goal there. If you missed the newsletter earlier this week and the story yesterday, go back and watch the show. Jeff says still praying for the cow. Yeah, I sent a newsletter out for any of you got it called I Prayed for a Cow. And our prayers have been answered so far on the cow. I'm waiting to hear an update. I haven't heard an update this week, but I'm sure the cow is producing milk. Back to the holiday treat. RJ says wine poured over the top of ice cream is called a wine sundae. Sounds like RJ speaks with experience. I don't know what it's called. I know a Coke float. I know that, but I wasn't familiar with a wine sundae. I'm not a wine connoisseur, but I can see it working. I guess a little. I think it would work. Wine over that. Now I wouldn't want to put bourbon over ice cream, or tequila over ice cream, or you could do rum over ice cream. You could do that. Would work out all right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here with you. It is time for us to wrap up this little dog and pony show here. We appreciate everybody being a part of it. Riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org. Don't forget Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com. If you would like to start off the new year with some new marketing, wrap up this year with new marketing, we'd love to have you. Just send us an email. info@jimmylakey.com. Way to communicate. info@jimmylakey.com. info@jimmylakey.com. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. God bless you. God bless America. Sorry for the raspy voice and sniffles and the cough, but I'm getting better. I'm on the uptake. Just a little travel cold is all it is. Don't panic. Lakey's fine. God bless you. God bless America. Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here.